Hi! One of the things we have to understand when we're reading the Bible, and I alluded to this a few days ago, was that we have to recognise that it was written in a language a long time ago into a culture that isn't around today, in a place far, far away. Sounds like not a galaxy far, far away. But actually, it's a lot of the things they actually talk about in detail are quite foreign to us today. So when they talk about marriage, it's a very different concept to marriage today. And when they talk about homosexuality, which they actually don't, as we've established, because in the Greek as well, they usually use other words. Remember, sorry, I'm saying the Greek. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and then most of the New Testament was written in Greek. Okay, and it's like almost a common Greek, because lots of people had other languages, but they had this common Greek, so like a simplified Greek they used to get the message over. And so what would happen in that culture, you just need to watch programs like Rome. I've been reading a book on ancient Rome. I've been watching videos about the ancient Greeks. And by today's standards, their life was really sordid. Like, you know, the Spartans would live in male-only and female-only dorms and would only ever know sex with the same sex until they got married. And often they would sleep with their wife and then go back to the dorm and carry on with the men, you know. This was just normal. This was their culture. And what had developed in their culture was this horrible thing called pederasty, which, as you can tell from the ped bit, it's doing gay things to children. Okay, boys generally. So there's a few verses, 1 Corinthians 6, 9 and 11, and Romans 1, 26 to 27 that are used where it's actually quite progressive. Some of the words that are used in the Greek actually talk about being effeminate or being the weaker, dominated one. So that gives an impression of power abuse in these situations. So men would kind of blood young boys into adulthood. I think it happened in boarding schools back in the day in Britain as well. But, you know, they were blood youngsters. They'd have young people called catamites, which were like child prostitutes that would do all sorts of things. And it was horrendous. And if you put into context, you've got Rome, which is a city at the time of 500,000 to 1 million people. And St. Paul is writing a letter to a small community in this city, telling the people, this has got to stop. They're giving themselves over to unnatural acts with men with the same sex. This is being jumped on in Romans. The unnatural things. And that's been seized on as, that must be not Adam and Eve, but Adam and Steve. But it isn't, because there are natural things that a gay person would do with his partner and a lesbian would do with her partner. There are natural things that are not perverted and they're just normal, what they would do in a loving relationship. To say that those unnatural things is reading into your own bias. You read the scripture, it's so easy to read into that scripture all sorts of bias. But actually into the culture, this group of anti-establishment radical revolutionaries were actually saying no more to a hundreds of years old treatment of young boys. Radical and progressive. We in the modern times have turned that around into something suppressive and regressive, not accepting people as they are, but adding our own personal bias, weaving that into the scriptures rather than just taking an honest look and saying, well, actually, what was the culture? What was actually being said back then? Brings out a whole different meaning. I hope that's been helpful. If it has, I'm going to say give us a wave, but you can't wave back at a video, can you? But anyway, please share, thumbs up, make a comment, ask a question, debate with me, disagree. It's all good fun. Anyway, have a great Uberlicious day. Bye now.